Hi everyone, my name is Thanh Tung Nguyen. My background is civil engineering. I'm also holding a master degree in construction project management from Western Sydney University. I spent a lot of my career time working in the quantity surveying, contract management, and project management. And the contract is usually being handled by the construction lawyers. But when it comes to tendering, if we are not familiar with some very popular type of contract like a lump sum payment or remeasurement payment or cost plus, we may pose some risk to our employers. So in this video, first I will discuss about the lump sum payment, and then the remeasurement payment or cost plus, and then I will talk a little bit about the jitters and mitigation approaching in tendering, and in the end of the video I will be demonstrating the using of Primavera Risk Analysis. So before discussing about the risk of lump sum payment contracts, let me be clear. There are so many types of construction contracts are being used in our construction industry. The first one is the traditional one, design tender, and the second one is design construct. On top of that is uh, build, operate, transfer, and uh, public-private partnership, and so many. But in this session, I'm focusing on the type of payment of a contract. So first, we should define what is the lump sum contract. It is a contract when a contractor offer to accomplish a job with a fixed price for the principal. On that basis, the contractual arrangement is contract fixed price, no variation due to whatever reason, and the contract is not subject to remeasurement. That means there's no revaluation for increase material price or remeasurement quantity. In case there is a BOQ forming a contract, this BOQ is for reference only. We cannot use the BOQ as a basis to claim against the principal. So on that basis, there are some certain risks may be imposed to the principal. The first one is the higher tender price, which means in most cases, the principal have to accept the fact that all tenderers may submit this tender price at the high side because they have to cover many potential risks. And another risk for the principal is the risk of accepted underestimated tender, which means in some cases the principal awards the tender to a successful tenderer with submitted tender underestimate. That means, and the third risk is lengthy tender periods is the obvious because tenderer needs time to measure quantity, to assess the potential risk and other factors in order to come up with the lump sum fixed price. And for the risk for contractor in lump sum payment contracts, the first one is risk underestimate. In some cases, the tenderers submitted tender price with their tender submission do not cover some essential cost, and during the construction progress recognized, but there is no chance for the tenderers to claim against the principal because of fixed price lump sum. Another risk for a contractor is uncovering risk. For example, um, they may forget the risk of underground condition, and when the contract progresses, it occurs, but they cannot submit claim variation to the principal because the fixed price. Risk for contractor is flawless quantity, which means the missing quantity. For example, the actual quantities of the contract for reinforcement report is 100 tons, but their calculations, their measurement of reinforcement was is only 50 tons. They have to bear the cost of underestimates due to a shortage of rebar without having the right to claim against the principal. As for the remeasurement payment or cost plus contracts, it is a kind of opposite with lump sum payment contracts, which means the contractors are entitled to claim variations due to quantity remeasurements or any items that are not placed in the original contract or BOQ. The contractual arrangement for this type of contract is the unit rate usually fixed. The quantity is subject to remeasurement, and any item which is not in the original BOQ will be subject to variation, and BOQ will form an integral part of contracts. Let's use example to demonstrate how to submit tender price for a remeasurement payment contract. When pricing for this type of contract, we should not change the quantity, or we must not change the quantity if we receive the BQ with the given quantity. We should use the same quantity and do not change. And we input the rate. These rates will be fixed and not subject to adjustment. Of course, depend on some special condition, it may be changed, but in most cases, it's a fixed rate, and the total value of the contract will be the based on final amount is multiplied by the quantity with the corresponding rate, the fixed rate. And there are some potential risks for principal. The first is the uncertain cost and over budget, because unlike a fixed price, and there are potential risks of over budget in case the final remeasurement is much higher than the original tender. And another risk is dispute due to potential claims. As I have said before, the contractor entitled to claim a variation due to adjustment of quantities or any other item that are not in the original tender BOQ. And the last risk, and it is also the biggest risk, is responsible for all risk. As for the contractor risk, the contractors may have faced the risk of uncertain quantity. For example, In this build quantity, the original quantity for the substructure is 1000 square meters, but at the final stage, the actual quantity is only 500 square meters, which is for less than the original tender. So in that case, they may lose the substantial profit. And the second risk for contractor revenue reduction and over resources mobilization. For example, the original tender quantity is 1000 square meters. They mobilize many heavy equipment, but in fact, the actual quantity is around 500 square meters. So they are overestimate about the resources mobilized to the site for the construction. So after discussing some potential risks in tendering for lump sum and remeasurement contracts, it's important to explore how to deal with these potential risks. For example, in the lump sum contract, the principals often bear the risk for the higher tender price because the tenderers tend to include or potential risks that they may experience during the construction progresses. So in that situation, the principal should carry out the risk register process, which include risk identification, risk mitigation, and risk quantitative. And then based on these risks, we should have identified some mitigation approaches. We may accept or reduce or transfer, allocate to the contractors, or if the contractors are unable to handle these risks, we should accept this. But the most important thing is that the principal, have to be understand what are the potential risks and what are the values of these risks. So here in this example, I am using an standard example from Primavera Risk Analysis, in which they indicate some potential risks are very high or high probability, a medium or very low, and with scale to less than 5 or more than 5, they will categorize into criteria very low and low. And it is the same for cost. If less than 30,000 is very low, if less more than 600,000 is a very high risk for the principal. And after making the risk register, Primavera Risk Analysis will run and identify what is it, B10, B50, and B90. And as we have discussed in the previous video, for the B10, that's being 10%, the contract will be completed with the respective value of B10 that we have using Primavera Risk Analysis to do the risk assessment for projects. In the previous video, I have applied the a simple cost estimation on Primavera Risk Analysis, but in reality, if we don't take into account the blending, the schedule, our risk statements may not be realistic. So first we will click to file and new, then click to new blend and click open, create our schedule, our blend. I will copy the text from the Excel file here. here. And then you can see here our remaining duration. We will indicate the duration for each task to ease the understanding. I will put equally, for example, 5 days for every task. And then we will create the task relationship. We will push our mouse at the end of this task. If we see the small round, we will choose and drag the rope. It's the relationship here is finished to start, and I will do the same for this. You indicate the minimum duration, most likely maximum duration based on the duration 5 days here. So the worst case is 5 days, 3 days, and when we hit 3 days, it will be automatically input the most likely and best case and worst case maximum duration. I do the same for the other. And then now we will indicate the resources for these tests. First we will click to plan, and then resource, and then we can see here we will report first risk or resources, say labor, the type of labor and cost. We will put one first and I will explain it later. And material, we change the material and some one again. I will just to create this 2 tab of resources only, and I will close. And then now I will assign the resource to this task. We will choose the task in which we want to allocate the resource, and then at the tab here hit the resources, and then at the ID here, when we see the around, scroll down, and then we choose the labor. Then we can see here the unit period is 1 and remaining is 5. Here the remaining is $5. It will divide 5 remaining cost here by the remaining duration 5, and it will come to the unit period is 1, because the software is doing prorated for the resources. So in case we change here to 100, it will change the unit period to 20, because 100 divided 5 is equal to 20. And we also can assign another resources for the inherent TBT process to the material, and here maybe material 1000, and then do the same for the other. For example, soil excavation, labor in 300, and rock excavation, material 1000. Yes. And repeat the same process for all the tasks if we consider their resources have to be assigned for these tasks. There are two ways of assign risk in our projects. The first one is the risk factor. The risk factors is risk we are unable to identify exact nature of the risk, but we forecast if this risk factor in the projects, the certain percentage value will be increase or decrease in the contract value. So I will demonstrate how to apply the risk factor to do that. At the risk, we will choose risk factor and hit edit, and then the risk factor will appear. Here we identify risk one, and duration mean duration likely, duration mass, cost mean cost likely, cost not likely, likelihood. This is the probability that risk one will happen, will occur into the project, and likelihood. Here I will change the probability of this factor one is about 90%, and I will repeat the same for risk 2, and this risk is about 30%, and then click OK, and I hit the risk again, and in risk factor I will hit the assign, and for which risk we are going to apply, we will click choose and click OK. And when we place our cursor here, the risk factor will apply to that task. And here we will move to inherent and need to risk again, and risk factor assign, and risk one. In case we don't want to close this dialog box, we can click to next. Here the task will be automatically down one item, and we will assign the risk. Do the same. Hit 2, next. Hit 1, next. Hit 2, and the others we will not apply the risk factors, so we just click OK to finish. And now we can run our risk analysis. If we only apply the risk factor, we can do that by click to risk and run risk analysis, and click analyze 1000 iteration. The multicolor simulation, it will change the probability of each item with 1000 times. As I mentioned in the previous video, we click analyze, click OK, click save, click yes, and I will click the step to see how the software perform the simulation. You can see, and click go, click OK. It will be automatically analyze our project, and click complete. And then the software will automatically provide the distribution graph for probability from 0 to 100. Here is the risk register to do that. We will hit to risk and register, and we can use the standard risk register or importing accident risk register or loan risk register using a visas provided by Primavera Risk Analysis. But here I will use the standard risk register. In case you want to change, you can click to loan risk register visas. But I don't want. I will use standard register and click OK. And then here we will indicate the risk, for example, risk 1 and risk 2 and risk 3. These risks we can have by identifying during the workshop with relevant stakeholders. So for risk 1, the probability very high, schedule very high, and score in the red color. If we see the risk scoring by hit to edit risk scoring, this one is the definition and criteria for a type of risk, as I have mentioned in the previous session. Here you can see probability scale, what is score, what risk is considered as very low or low based on the duration of impact and cost impact, or the score is tabulated in this table. And in this register, the score is the reflection of the risk scoring I have shown you. In here, the risk 1 is 72, and here the mitigation action is how we react to the risk. For example, for risk 1 is very high, we should not accept, but we may avoid or transfers or reduce or accept. So we can choose reduce. And the cost for risk 1 to reduce is about $1,000 or $1,000. And after do the risk reduction, the post mitigation of risk, this risk 1 will be the probability will change from very high to very low, and the schedule impact to very low, and cost impacts to very low, up to $30,000 only, or negligible, for example. And we do the same for it too. This one will we will spend about 2,000, for example. If we consider a risk of collapsing slope of an earthwork, we may install system bound, and the system bound is the material and labor, for example, $2,000, and after applying the risk, the probability of collapsing will reduce here. Because I cannot change anything at the post mitigation, because we accept this risk, so we don't want to accept, we choose to reduce. And now we can change the post mitigation risk to very negligible, schedule very negligible, cost impact is very negligible, and performance you can see now the score already changed for risk 3. For risk 3, in case we don't want to push one lump sum cost for the reductions of risk, we can choose risk 3 and go to the mitigation and click the view detail action. And in here we will have the breakdown of risk mitigation. For example, action 1, the action 1 is remaining cost is 2000. You can see 2000 appear here, and it will be automatically transfer the total cost to risk 3. And after apply the action 1, the probability will change to very negligible, schedule very negligible, and cost impact is very negligible. The negligible score 0. And action 2 for risk 3, action 2 we do the same. This one will need about 1000. And after applying the risk mitigation, the potential risk will change to very low, schedule to low, and cost impact to low, and performance to low. Yeah. Then we will close this table. If you ask her to stay, then in here we will apply the risk. For example, here we will choose the task we want to apply the risk and click to risk, and we will applying the risk for the whole project. We should do the correlation if any the correlations is the association productivity between the relation task. For example, if the contractor carry out the earthwork, and the more earthwork they have done, the more transportation out of the site the quantity is. So we will do that by click to risk and correlation, and then to the task that have correlation, and here we will click OK, and here risk correlation, here we will double click to the task we want to do correlation, and then here we already selected the task inadequate safety regulation, and then we choose the available distribution to us and correlation and click OK. Repeat the same for other tests. We should note here the coefficient is not only 100%, but we can change to 50% or 90% if the accordingly depend on the forecasted correlation. Click OK, and then we will assign the risk by click to the risk and risk register, and then click to quantitative. Here we will assign the risk for our respective task. For example, risk 1, click to inherent drop excavation and contingent supplier, and we will choose the other one, then here click to, and then click to agree. Do the same, yeah. Then we will click to view to we will view the impacted risk plan. That means what is the risk before mitigation and the risk after mitigation. To that, we will click to view impacted risk plan. Here, the pre-mitigated. That means we accept the risk. The software will run, will analyze to see how much of the project before mitigation, and after that we will do the post mitigated. That means we only apply uh, the risk reduction, and we see how much the cost of project will be reduced, and we click build, and then we can see now the risk only applied to our projects is on is already combined the risk register and risk factor. We have only factoring previously. So now we can click the risk and then run risk analysis and click analyze and click complete. Now we can see the pre-mitigated cost here, 6 million, and then we click okay here, and now we will change to post mitigated. We click the risk and risk register and click yes, and now we will change, click the view tool and view impacted risk plan, remove mitigating, click post mitigating, click build, and run it again, complete. We want to show the distribution analyzer for the cost and plan before mitigation and post mitigation. We will click to show distribution analyzer here and click to file and import data and click to import data, and now all the relevant data for pre-mitigated and post-mitigated will appear here, in which the distance variation, the distance shows us what's the gap between the cost at pre-mitigation and post-mitigation. To wrap up, in this video I have discussed about the potential risk in tendering for lump sum payment and remeasurement payments contracts. For lump sum payment, there are three major risks to the principal. The first one is the higher values submitted by the tenderers, and the second one is the risk of accepting underestimated tenders. And the third one is the lengthy periods, because the tenderers always asking for long time to submit the lump sum tender. In terms of risk imposed on the contractor for lump sum payment, the first one is underestimated, because the lump sum contract is a fixed price. The contractor has no right to claim the principal for additional payment due to underestimated. So underestimated is one of the most severe risk of the contractor for lump sum payment. The second one is the risk of uncovering or factor of risk, because when any uncovering risk occurs during the construction, the contractor have to bear that cost to complete the work under the lump sum fixed price contract. And these are some major risks for respective principal and the contractor. And in order to mitigate these risks, we should identify the potential risk and then to come up with the mitigations of risk. In this video, I have discussed about risk register, and at the end of the video, I also demonstrated how to use Primavera Risk Analysis to do the risk assessment for a project, which include both the planning and cost. Thank you for watching and see you in the next video.